€1.17. And LBC weather, blustery showers and strong winds continuing tonight in northwest Scotland. There will be some heavy rain in southeast England, lows of 1 degree in the north and 10 in the southeast. Then sunny spells in the south tomorrow, but showers in the west and a high of 10. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Tim Humphrey.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation. The Nigel Farage Show.
Mr. Nigel Farage.
Thank you, Donald, and good evening, everybody. In just over 2 weeks' time, it will be a truly historic moment. At 11 p.m, after 47 years, the United Kingdom will leave the European Union. And whether you think that's a great thing, which I do, whether you think it's a bad thing, either way, it is a big moment in time. And that's why, with the Leave Means Leave cross-party, non-party political group, I've applied with my colleague Richard Tice for us to have a stage in Parliament Square to have a celebration. The idea is some singing, some music, some speeches, some real big celebration leading up to the moment when at 11 o'clock, Big Ben chimes and we're out. We've left. Now, I'm asking for permission from the Mayor's office and from Westminster Council. So far, we've spent nearly 8 days being given the runaround on this. I hope they are going to approve it without any publicity. Just one little email that was sent out. 15,000 people have registered to come already. I think a very big crowd would like to be in Parliament Square for this truly historic moment. Now, Big Ben, as you know, is undergoing, as is much of the Palace of Westminster, some pretty fundamental repairs. But it did ring, didn't it, on New Year's Eve at midnight. It did ring back at the time of Armistice Day and indeed Remembrance Sunday. But we're told it won't ring at 11 o'clock on the 31st of January. And we've been told overnight by the House of Commons Commission that the cost of it, if it was to ring, would be £500,000. Now, we on this programme, the Nigel Farage Show on LBC, have contacted every single member of the House of Commons Commission to ask them to come on, to explain why the cost is as high as it is, to explain their reluctance. And I have to tell you, not a single person has taken us up on that invitation. So the story started to become a bigger one as the day went on. And indeed, Boris Johnson gave an interview on BBC Breakfast this morning and was asked about Big Ben.
The bongs cost £500,000 because
they're very costly bongs.
But we're working up a plan so that people can bung a bob for a Big Ben bong. Because everybody knows, Big Ben is being refurbished. They seem to have taken the clapper away. So we need to restore the clapper in order to bong Big Ben on Brexit night, and that is expensive. We're looking at whether we can fund it. It seems to cost £500,000.
Yes.
Well, there's Boris Johnson actually.
Yes.
Well, there's Boris Johnson actually trying to make a joke out of this. So, we're going to find some mechanism by which the public can put money in if that's what they want to do. But it's £500,000. It's terribly expensive. It's amazing, isn't it? This government don't want to celebrate the moment of Brexit. They're embarrassed by the moment of Brexit. I've even had conservative backbench Eurosceptics trying to stop people attend the celebration that's going to take place in Parliament Square, and it will take place, I guess, with or without permission, to be honest with you. It's just astonishing. And later on today, this was confirmed when the PM's deputy official spokesman said, "We continue to speak to the House about this, and we will set out our plans to mark Brexit Day as soon as we can." Running out of time, mate. If the public want Big Ben to bong and they raise the money, that would be great. Well, why doesn't the government say, we'll underwrite the fundraising initiative? Why doesn't the government say, this is a moment in history, indeed it's the issue we got voted in on with an 80-seat majority, let's have a big event? No, they won't do it because they are simply embarrassed by it. Look, Union, not just for us, not just for the EU, but in the eyes of the world. And the shot that the world will want to see is Big Ben ringing at 11 o'clock. There's no other picture. Nothing in Brussels or anywhere else that comes even near it, which is why I've tried to put on this celebratory party. And by the way, Boris, you are invited to that party. You can speak at 2 minutes to 11 as our Prime Minister, but at the moment I've not had an answer. So I don't know what's going to happen here. There are one or two people talking about putting money in, raising money. Clearly the figure of 500,000, if it can be reduced, that would be great. But let me ask you, do you feel as I do about this? Do you feel as strongly as I do about this? Tell me, do you want Big Ben to bong for Brexit? And if you think, no, it's a waste of time and money, 973. Or if you think, yep, absolutely, this is a moment. The people fought for this, campaigned for this. They beat the establishment. We must mark this moment in history. Then, of course, you can text to 84850. Or do you have any better idea? Any better idea than I've got of being in Parliament Square, having Big Ben bonging? If you do, please tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC at LBC. And, of course, you can watch us on Twitter, Facebook and YouTube, as a growing number of people do. I'm going to go first to Sally, who's a new caller from Sandwich in Kent. Sally, good evening to you.
Good evening. I'd like to start by saying, but I am against the idea of Big Ben ringing out. And the reason for that is as follows. The Remainers, or not all Remainers, but a lot of Remainers were, I felt, really abusive and offensive to the people who voted to leave. I don't want myself or other leavers to be seen in the same light as I see them. We have won our case. We have got justice. We have retained our democracy, and we can now move forward with the plans. So I don't want to be all gung-ho. I want us to do it with good grace, unlike the Remainers.
Well, Sally, you're absolutely right. Some of the behaviour of the Remainers has been absolutely vile and undemocratic, but on a personal level, really, really horrid. Sally, on the 29th of March, the day we were supposed to leave the European Union, Leave Means Leave had organised a march, and they'd marched down from Sunderland. Starting on the 14th of March, they came into Parliament Square on the 29th of March. When the march left Sunderland, we were still being told we would leave by Mrs May. By the time we got there, it was clear we weren't going to leave. And there was a massive crowd in Parliament Square. Leave Means Leave had a stage set. We had singing. We had people telling stories. We had speeches. And do you know what, Sally? Despite the bitter disappointment of all the people there, everybody was good-natured. Everybody was well-behaved. And what is being planned, Sally, for Parliament Square that night? This is going to be good-natured fun to mark a moment in history. And I don't think, Sally, we should let something as historic as this go by without at least marking it in some way.
Well, excuse me, I don't have an objection to a gathering and this, that and the other. But the chiming of Big Ben has really deep-seated emotions connected with that and this country. And I just feel it would be best for all of us to not put on big, meaningful show in that sense of the word, and hope that the Remainers will be more understanding of the Leavers, and the Leavers be welcoming to the Remainers. We can still.
But Sally, a lot of Remainers, Sally, a lot of Remainers now accept the fact we're leaving because they're Democrats. Sally, listen, I've heard your point of view. I understand you don't want to be provocative. I promise you, nothing I'm planning for that night is intended to be provocative. I disagree politely, with your point of view, but I thank you very much indeed for picking up the phone for the first time to LBC. Nigel, I was a Remainer, but I would like to hear Big Ben chime when the UK leaves the European Union. Win or lose, remain or leave, it is time we now all came together to make this work. I can't help thinking of the old proverb, if you can't beat them, join them. James in London, that's a great, great message. Ben in Bristol is not a new caller, he's a regular. Ben, good evening.
Nigel, so great to talk after all this time, and so great to meet you, if you remember, in Backwell School.
I do remember meeting you. I was doing
a sweet Remainer?
I was doing a BBC radio show. But,
yeah, cool. We were in the line then, that night, Nigel.
Do you know, it's a funny thing, but Sally, who was just on from Sandwich, made the point that so many of these Remainers have been so militant and been so rude. She feels that if Big Ben was to chime, we're provoking them. What say you, Ben in Bristol?
Just 10 seconds before we start, Nigel, it was such a noble thing you did when you stood down those seats. I don't think anyone's thanked you on air. When you stood down those seats, that moved me to tears when you did that. To lay down your ambitions.
Well, I wanted, thank you. I wanted Brexit to happen, and whilst I didn't like Boris's deal, but when he then said, we will not have regulatory alignment, we are going to leave next year, I decided the moment had come when I had to put my trust in the Prime Minister.
It was amazing.
Trouble is, Ben, today he doesn't seem to want to celebrate Brexit. What's going wrong?
Do you know what? You know it's true, but we'll just have to trust that it worked out. But do you know, first things first, they're treating us like mugs. It don't no way in a million. It probably don't cost 500 quid to get that bell to Bong.
Well, I think it does cost. Well, the argument, Ben, is. The argument, Ben, is they would need to. Well, they need to put a floor back in. It would delay the contract. Blah blah blah.
No, come on, Nigel, ridiculous. They knew exactly what they were doing. And look, I was looking at some equivalent thing. You know, we spent in 2017 £4 billion clearing potholes in foreign countries on our foreign aid. We spent £70 million on the Extinction Rebellion. Policing that. You've got all the money that goes into the Pride events and everything like that, and they suddenly can't. Suddenly, Boris can't find 500 grand. He wants the people to pay for it. You've got to be kidding!
So why?
I'm not paying for it.
Ben? Why does Boris appear to be embarrassed by Brexit?
I don't know, Nigel. It's a big mystery of our time, but you just got to trust that you've given him his chance now. You couldn't have given him better. And they were very ungracious to you, I felt, at the election to not give you a few seats. But Nigel, hear me on this. I believe 100% you've got more influence on this radio show and in the media, not being in Parliament, than you'd have if you were an MP, or even if the Brexit Party had MPs. There's so much influence on a show like this.
No, well, that's sweet of you. Ben, quickly, money or not, do you think Big Ben should bong at 11 p.m. on the 31st of January 2020?
Do I think it must bong?
It must bong. It must bong. There we are. We'll leave it there. Ben says it must bong. I agree with him. This is the Nigel Farage Show. This is LBC. It's 16 minutes past 6 and time for the news with Tim Humphrey.
A report has described appalling failings by officers investigating the sexual exploitation of children within the care system in Manchester. The business secretary says agreement has been reached with Flybe to keep the financially troubled company operating. Boris Johnson's told the Scottish First Minister he will not grant the power she wants to hold another independence referendum. LBC weather, blustery showers and strong winds continuing in northwest Scotland, heavy rain for southeast England and lows ranging from 1 degree in the north to 10 in the southeast.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff. On the M25 anti-clockwise, a lane is closed because of an accident between junction 25 for Enfield and junction 24 for Potters Bar, so there are queues from junction 26 for Waltham Abbey. Anti-clockwise on the M25, there are also queues from junction 9 for Leatherhead to Clickett Lane services because of roadworks and after there was an accident earlier on. On the M25 clockwise, it's slow over the QE2 bridge. Speed restrictions of 30 miles per hour are in place because of the high winds. There are queues on the North Circular Road southbound to the Park Royal interchange from Stables Corner, that's because a lorry's broken down. The Woolwich Ferry, that's not running because of the high tide. And Homerton High Street, that's partly blocked in both directions because of an accident at Isabella Road, so there are queues.
LBC.
January is tough enough without a broken boiler. Keep your home warm and working this winter with 2 years interest-free credit and your boiler installed by one of our expert engineers. Plus, you'll get a 5-year British Gas warranty, and we can even quote by video call after work or on weekends. Get a quote by the 29th of February, and you can also get £200 off a new boiler, or £400 off for our existing home care customers. Search British Gas New Boiler. Conditions apply.
This is LBC.
Standard. Stagnant. Same old, same old. That's not how you describe London. We're, well, different. London loves bright new ideas, embraces vibrant, evolving communities, and isn't afraid of standing out. We deserve an energy company that's as different as we are, one that's fair and affordable for all Londoners. London Power, a different kind of energy company.
Teaching shapes lives. If you're thinking of becoming a teacher, our expert teaching advisors can give you the level of support you need to get one step closer to the classroom. Teaching. Every lesson shapes a life. Search Get Into Teaching. Advisor support subject to eligibility.
The Vodafone Big Winter Sale is now on. Now you can get average speeds of 63 megabits per second of superfast fibre broadband for only £20 a month for selected pay monthly customers. Just one of the amazing offers in the Vodafone Big Winter Sale. Go online or install today. The future is exciting. Ready? Vodafone.
Prices may change. 18-month term subject to credit acceptance and availability. Ends 30th of January. 61% of Superfast 2 customers receive sync speed above 63 megabits per second. Visit vodafone.co.uk/broadband.
Use Swell Heating's online tool to find the perfect boiler in under 5 minutes. Visit swellheating.com. Rely on us to keep you warm.
Hello? It's time you swapped your daily grind for some sun, sea, and salsa! Sangria! Sun lounger! Siesta! Salsa! The dip! Sandals! Suntan lotion! We've done salsa, ain't we? In the Seychelles, Spain, or anywhere else in the world at surprisingly low prices. When you need a holiday, it's time to Travel Republic. Book with confidence at Toll Protected.
This is LBC, live from Strasbourg, the Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
And some breaking news. The airline Flybe, which has been in considerable financial trouble, and Boris Johnson was asked about this morning, and he said there are limits to what the government can do, and yet... A few hours later, Business Secretary Andrew Leadsom says an agreement has been reached with Flybe shareholders to keep the airline operating. If I translate that for you into English, it means your money, taxpayers' money, is going to be used to keep Flybe from going bankrupt. Whether that succeeds or whether they have to then put more money in yet again, I don't know. But when it comes to the cost of £500,000, which, whilst it seems high, is for government an absolutely tiddly sum of money, Boris Johnson's government will not commit to that for Big Ben to ring, to chime, to bong at 11 p.m. on the 31st of January this month. And they won't do it, despite the fact they must know, as I do and you do, that will be the global image that everybody wants to see. It is the most iconic clock in the world. They won't do it. So is it going to be up to the public? Well, Mike from Newcastle under Lyme says, let's do a public fundraiser. If 500,000 people throw in £1, job done. I bet the money would be there by Friday. Mike, all I can tell you on that is there are lots of conversations going on tonight. Watch this space, okay? Of course Big Ben should ring out. It's part of history and a big thing for Brexit. They waste money on fireworks night, so why not have something for Brexit, says Kathy in Southampton. Kathy, I can also tell you this tonight. I've not revealed this before anywhere. But Richard Tice, who is the boss of Leave Means Leave and my colleague, has spoken to a variety of organisations in London to ask, could we do a modest fireworks display? We're not asking to do anything quite as grand as London on the River on New Year's Eve, but a modest 5 or 7 minute firework display as part of that celebration. We've been denied to use a roof of one of the government buildings. We've been denied the use of the river. We've been denied the use of St James's Park. Everywhere we go, everybody is trying to frustrate the attempt to have a public celebration of this historic moment. But do you know something? Do you know something, Kathy? We're not giving up. We're going to keep on trying, and we will have We will mark this moment in history, I promise you. Jim is a new caller from Merthyr Tydfil down in South Wales. Jim, good evening.
Hi, Nigel. Nice to be talking to you.
Very good to have you on LBC. So, I feel really passionately, Jim, that Big Ben should bong for Brexit. What do you think?
Oh, so do I. I mean, it's ironic, really, because this conversation, 500 grand to make Big Ben chime on the leaving of Brexit. I think the public would be horrified how much that scaffolding around Westminster is actually costing the government and the British taxpayer. I was talking to a guy who's been working on.
I think they're spending. Yeah, go on.
And it costs less to leave the scaffolding up, right, than it does to employ somebody to come and take it down while the rest of the work's been ongoing. And you're talking multi-million pounds just for scaffolding. So 500k to make Big Ben chime on an historical event, and like you said there, I think we should throw another 500k into some fireworks as well. And really love go
for it. Now, Jim, you live a long way away, and this is not a daytime event, it's an evening event. Would you be tempted to come up to London on that day?
I would, yeah. You know why, Nigel? I've served 24 years in the armed forces, right? And I have watched British values and standards and our, the whole thing of Great Britain being stripped away bit by bit, right? I served my country and I'm proud of that fact. And any chance we get to celebrate being British, then bring it on. That's my attitude on it.
Well, Jim, I'll see you in Parliament Square, mate. If we get a chance, we'll have a drink, all right? Listen, Jim, thanks for the call. And Jim's point there, really important, because we're spending, I think it's up to £3 billion over the course of the next few years in renovating the Palace of Westminster. And given, I mentioned that the clock was iconic, but actually the Houses of Parliament, this is one of the symbols of our country around the world. And I'm not unhappy that we spend money to get it into good order. And absolutely, the point that was just made, £500,000, which does seem high to many of us, but that is actually a fraction of what all of this is really costing. And yet the government won't support it. I think that is absolutely astonishing. Boris, please call in. Tell me why you're embarrassed about Brexit and don't want to celebrate it. 0345 606. No, don't worry. Your press office know the number. I'm sure they do. Gary is calling from Ashford. Gary, good evening to you.
Hi, Nigel. How are you?
I'm just bemused, Gary. Bemused.
Well, me too. Well, I campaigned with you to get this result, and I campaigned for various parties. I don't want to go into details, but I've campaigned, and I want to get a leave, and I want to see a big show, and I want to see a big party. But what I don't want to happen is the public to pay out for like $500,000 or whatever, where I would rather see that money being spent on a good use, as in to help the homeless, armed forces, the people that leave the army, who haven't got no homes, support them in getting the home. I'd rather see the money going in that respect than, because at the end of the day, we can all go bong, because I'm going to be there, you know it, without a shadow of doubt. I'm going to be there in London, wherever you are, giving it some.
Well, what,
I don't even mind
Gary,
bong out loud.
Gary, what I have said is we will play the Big Ben chimes through our speaker systems if necessary, but it's a pretty poor second, and no doubt Westminster Council will try and stop that. Gary, of course, there are always good causes and charities and those in real need in this country and indeed in other parts of the world. But this is a truly historic moment. Brexit only happened, Gary, because people like you fought the establishment. And the establishment are trying to stop us celebrating Brexit. So maybe there's an argument that people put a few bob in and we beat the establishment once again and have our celebration.
Well, can we try to get Boris to fork out of his wages, maybe? That'd be a nice trick.
Well, it would be. We won't do that, but we will say to Boris, please come and join us. We'll give you star billing on the stage. The world will see you celebrating Brexit. I'd be delighted to help facilitate that. And for some reason, he's running shy. Gary, thanks for your support. Thanks for your efforts. David is calling from Hammersmith. David, good evening.
Good evening. So my point is that a few days ago, you begrudged public money being spent on the security for Prince Harry, despite the fact that he's long been a target of Al-Qaeda since he was a pilot. I think this is divisive, and I think it will attract winter mob type people. I think all demos in London, things like this, should be in Hyde Park, and that includes the Notting Hill Carnival, the Extinction Rebellion. That should be the place where anybody has to go to do it. If you want to do this, nobody needs to donate, because Lord Ashcroft has already promised to underwrite it. He's very wealthy. Good luck to him. But he must also, and you, because you'll have no need for all the money you've still got in the Brexit company, you can pay for all the police and all of the costs, the St John's ambulance, everything. I think if you want to have it that much... David,
Extinction Rebellion, who broke the law in every single way, cost the police 70 million quid. And by the way, this is not a protest. This is not a demo. You called it a demo. This is not a demo, David.
Can't you see that it will attract protesters? It will be a red rag. Why? Because
do you know what?
The of both sides who are extreme.
We did it on the 29th of March. We did it, okay, it was during the day, not the evening, I'll grant you that. We did it on the 29th of March with a very large crowd and with virtually no incident whatsoever. And I think, don't you think, David, that actually most people who are Remainers now accept this is now going to happen?
I don't like this term Remainer or Brexiteer. We're all citizens of the same country. Our direction is now solid. There's no uncertainty. We're moving forward. And the reality is you're really rubbing their noses in it, which is just going to make them want to come down and cause aggravation. And who's going to put up with that? The police will be the ones who suffer, not you. Now, Lord Ashcroft has promised to pay the money. Let him pay it.
No, he hasn't. He's promised. That was when we thought. He said he would underwrite it when we thought the bill was a lot lower. David, are you saying there should be no event to mark Brexit?
Now, is he?
No, we were expecting a lower number. David, do you think we should mark Brexit, yes or no? Or should we all stay at home and watch EastEnders?
If you wish to mark it in Hyde Park.
All right, OK, David, thank you. Thank you. I don't really see the appeal of Hyde Park, but never mind. It's 6:30, time for the news with Tim Humphrey.
A report has found dozens of children suspected of being groomed and abused by gangs in Manchester were failed by police and local authorities. Some victims told carers and officers about the sexual assaults, but no action was taken. Business Secretary Andrea Leadsom says the government has reached agreement with Flybe's shareholders to keep the company operating. She says this will ensure that UK regions remain connected. Boris Johnson has formally rejected a call from Scotland's First Minister to hold a second independence referendum. The Prime Minister says he's carefully considered the request, but it would mean political stagnation for the country. LBC weather, blustery showers and strong winds continuing in northwest Scotland, heavy rain in the southeast of England, and a low of 1 degree in the north, but 10 in the southeast.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Weekday mornings from 7.
To Bong or not to Bong? It may have sounded out 2 weeks ago, but apparently it can't sound out on January the 31st because of the cost. Shouldn't Brexit Day be marked in some way? Mark Francois is a Conservative MP. He led the call for Big Ben to sound.
We leave the European Union at a very specific time, which is 11 p.m. For those people that want to celebrate, it seems just ludicrous to me and many of my colleagues that they're not allowed to look to Big Ben because it won't be made to chime.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
With Xero. Get your business digital ready with Xero accounting software.
LBC.
Hello, Sunny speaking.
Hi, Sunny. It's Alex. Is Steve free?
Steve, I have Alex on the line.
Put him through. Hi, Alex. Hello? Hello?
Fed up of a difficult-to-use phone system? Hi is an intuitive touchscreen business phone with removable tablet, centralised contacts and instant video to anyone. Stop saying hello and start saying hi. Visit hi.co.uk for more information.
Fancy watching a film?
Could do. What's on?
This looks good. Spiders on a train.
What's it about?
Spiders knocking about on a train.
Sometimes the name says it all. Like the Big Tasty from McDonald's with succulent beef, cheese, sliced tomato, lettuce, onions and lashings of our Big Tasty sauce. Available with or without bacon. Served after 11 a.m. until the 28th of January. Participating restaurants only, subject to availability.
At Flight Centre, we tailor-make it easy to plan a holiday that's all travel, no worries. And during our January sale, we've got loads of amazing upgrade offers. We'll even upgrade your holiday by switching your flight with Virgin Atlantic or Delta Airlines to Virgin Economy Delight or Delta Comfort Plus for free. So it's all stretching out, no splashing out. Chat to us today and we'll tailor-make it easy to plan a holiday that's all travel, no worries. On select packages subject to availability at all protected terms apply.
You know what it's like when you can't find your debit card? Panic. That's what it's like. Until you realise, as a Halifax Visa debit card holder, that you can freeze your card on the spot. Control your Halifax Visa debit card with the Halifax mobile app. Easy as.
You can only freeze certain transaction types. Terms and conditions apply.
The Vodafone Big Winter Sale is now on. Now you can get average speeds of 63 megabits per second of super-fast fibre broadband for only £20 a month for selected pay monthly customers. Just one of the amazing offers in the Vodafone Big Winter Sale. Go online or in-store today. The future is exciting. Ready? Vodafone.
Prices may change. 18-month term subject to credit acceptance and availability. Ends 30th of January. 61% of Superfast 2 customers receive sync speed above 63 megabits per second. Visit vodafone.co.uk/broadband.
The Nigel Farage Show, live from Strasbourg, only on LBC.
Should Big Ben bong for Brexit? It's kind of a tongue twister, I guess. I feel really strongly about this. I mean, if Big Ben could bong for Armistice Day, for Remembrance Sunday, for New Year's Eve, why on earth could it not bong for this great historic moment? And every obstacle you can imagine is being put in its way. A House of Commons commission saying it would cost £500,000. It's all too difficult. And the Prime Minister saying, oh, well, if the public want to raise money for it, they can raise money for it. But we're not, as a government, going to do it, despite the fact they spend vast sums of money on all sorts of things that most of us would disapprove of. Before I get back to getting your thoughts on that, European powers, EU leaders today have triggered a formal dispute mechanism over Iran's breaches of key parts of the 2015 nuclear deal. This is, of course, in response to Iran saying that it's lifting all of its limits on the production of enriched uranium. Now, Iran has always claimed this, of course, is because they want to have nuclear energy. But why, when you're full of oil, you would need that? I don't know. Just remind ourselves of the politics of this. This was Donald Trump last week on the deal.
The very defective JCPOA expires shortly anyway and gives Iran a clear and quick path to nuclear breakout.
So Trump completely opposed to the deal, as I've been ever since 2015. This was Boris Johnson last week in Prime Minister's questions on the Iran nuclear deal.
It is our view that the JCPOA remains the best way of preventing nuclear proliferation.
And this was Boris Johnson this morning talking about the JCPOA.
My point to our American friends is, look, somehow or other, we've got to stop the Iranians acquiring a nuclear weapon. I think that's what the Joint Collective Points Agreement does, the JCPOA. But if we're going to get rid of it, then we need a replacement. Now, the problem with the JCPOA is basically, and this is the crucial thing, this is why there's this tension. The problem with the agreement is that from the American perspective, it's a flawed agreement, it expires, plus it was negotiated by President Obama, and it has, from their point of view, it has many, many faults. Well, if we're going to get rid of it, let's replace it. And let's replace it with the Trump deal.
I mean, it does appear, he really is a bit all over the place on this. 1 minute he's pro the Obama deal, now he wants a Trump deal. But I do think at least he and other European leaders are beginning to understand. They're beginning to understand that the constant appeasement of this extremist Islamist regime that has done such dreadful things for 40 years in Iran, I think that appeasement may be beginning to come to an end. At least I do very much hope so. Neil from Bedfordshire says to me, Let's go one step further and make Brexit Day a bank holiday. Neil, I don't mind whether it's the 31st of January or indeed June the 23rd, the day we had the referendum, but I do think a Brexit Day bank holiday is in order. Nigel, we don't often see eye to eye. Regardless of that, how on earth can you even argue this? Spending 45 grand per bong, whether that's taxpayers' money or not, are you flipping mad? We have areas of the UK with levels of poverty, but you want to spend 45 grand on a bong. Well, look, you know, you could argue that, I mean, whoever, anonymous, do put your names on these things, oh, really? You know, you could argue that with anything. You could argue the cost of a new fighter jet. You could argue all of these things. The fact is, whoever you are, after 47 years of this experiment of us being part of a European project but turned out to be something rather other than many thought when we first joined it, we are leaving. It's a big moment in our history, in British history and in global politics. It should be marked, is my view. Mike in Epsom is a first-time caller. Good evening, Mike.
Good evening, Nigel.
Welcome to the show. So what do you make of it? Should Big Ben bong for Brexit?
Oh, definitely. I'm a big Brexiteer, but just to say, Nigel, I was fortunate enough to work in Parliament for a couple of years, and one of my jobs there was to project manage the extraction of the clock mechanism itself and to replace it with the electric motor that's up there now. I can't believe the cost that you're talking about. It's unbelievable. I can only believe that they're trying to claw some of the money back because it's so over budget.
Are they trying to inflate the cost to try and put us off having Big Ben from bonging?
The ability to make to strike the clock is all computerised now, so you can do it from your bedroom on a computer. The only problem, the only thing you'll need is probably someone there to, one of the clock mechanics or something to supervise. But other than that, I cannot see where this price is coming from. Right, so they've overinflated it in your view. Absolutely.
And would you, and as somebody that's worked on Big Ben, and thank you for calling. Would you? I mean, do you want to see it chime at 11 p.m. on the 31st?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was responsible for the last couple of years of making it bong on Remembrance Sunday and for New Year's Eve.
Oh wow!
So of course I want to see it done. Yes, absolutely.
So do you not work them anymore now, Mike?
No. I've not worked there since April of last year. But as I said, all the clock mechanism is out now, and any strike that's undertaken now with the bell is done by an electric motor.
That is a great piece of information, Mike. Make sure before you go that the controllers in the room have got your phone number, because I'm going to give you a call in the next couple of days, one-to-one, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure, no worries.
Because that's a great... Mike, thank you. So there you go. Mike in Epsom tells us he spent a couple of years working on Big Ben. He put the electric mechanism in there, and you could actually get this to strike on a computer from your bedroom. It shouldn't cost 500 grand. They're saying that because they want to put us off. Now, of course, if you delay work to a project, and that project goes on for another couple of weeks or week or whatever it may be, there is clearly a cost. There is clearly a cost. And given the scale of what's going on, it probably is in six figures. But maybe, Mike suggests, at 500, they're trying to recoup some of their losses. I wonder, House of Commons Commission, who refused to appear on this programme tonight, how much did it cost for Big Ben to bong on New Year's Eve? Did that cost $500,000? If so, why haven't you told us? Interesting. Interesting. On YouTube, Dave says, this is our country. We should ring the bells all day. Dave, I'm with you. Let the bells ring out for Brexit. If Boris does not allow Big Ben to bong on Brexit Day, we should all bong him out of office at the next election, says Ronnie from Glasgow. Ronnie, that doesn't work anymore. He's just got back with a whopping great big majority. He's there for 5 years. I'll tell you what, Ronnie, he's probably there, actually, for 10 years. Jonathan is calling from Finchley. Good evening, Jonathan.
Good evening, Nigel. I think you and many of your callers are missing the point here. It's not about the bong and it's not about the money. It's about being respectful to half the country who, like me, either voted for Remain or campaigned as I did for Remain. Now, I campaigned, we lost, and we handed the victory to you, and you've got your Brexit, right? But what about respecting the people who lost? What about giving them, the time of day? You and Mr. Tice sent an email to all your supporters. I was the recipient of it, calling us Ramonas. I'm not a Ramona. I'm not moaning about anything. We lost. We put our hands up. We're upset. We don't want this.
No, Jonathan. Jonathan. Well, I tell you what I feel upset about. Tell you what I'm really upset about. You talk about being respectful. What about your mob? What about all the extremists outside Parliament?
I haven't got a mob. I just had one person.
Right. Do you accept the referendum result, Jonathan?
The vote was won by Brexit, and I respect it. I respect people who voted Brexit.
Right.
I've always been respectful towards you.
So what's Tony Blair been doing for 3.5 years? I've only been respectful
towards you. Only.
Fine.
So
what about those? Tony Blair, John Major, the Liberal Democrats, the Scottish National Party, the Financial Times, the BBC. I could go on a list as long as your arm of people who did not respect the referendum result, who did not go along with the principle of losers' consent, and who've delayed this for 3.5 years.
And do you
That's
think
where.
the way to
Hang on. That's where the lack of respect is. And can I just, in return, Jonathan, point this out to you? What we intend to do is to have a peaceful, joyous, happy celebration of an historic event. We do not wish to disrespect anybody.
Yeah, okay, but do you think that? Okay, you don't. Why did you call me as a recipient of your email a Ramona? You called me a Ramona. That's disrespectful. And if you don't like disrespect, why are you dishing it out to people like me? You're just doing.
Why
the same
did people
as
spend?
You're complaining about the BBC and the.
Why did you spend? Why did you spend 3.5? Why did many on your side, or too many on your side, spend 3.5 years trying to stop Brexit from happening? Do you understand why I think that was disrespectful?
But that's your interpretation of people trying to.
No, it's not. No, it's not. They tried to stop it.
Leaving the EU is extraordinarily hard because just under half the people wanted to stay in, and a lot of people wanted to leave, and we didn't know exactly how. It's very complicated and very complex. I think it's an amazing achievement that we've got this far, but it's difficult. It's really, really tough. Okay, so you can blame.
Well, it's tough when people obstruct it, Jonathan.
Sorry.
Well, it's tough when people. It's tough when people obstruct it.
Why don't we stick with the point? If you want to revel, and you should do, in your victory because you won a victory, you should have a huge party, and good luck to you. I'd even come to the parties because I like parties, right? But don't.
You're invited.
Yes.
Right, Jonathan. That's not our intention. I promise you, it's not our intention to be disrespectful. But I get the point that some people do feel sensitive about this, but we must mark this. It is now 6:45. It is time for the news headlines with Tim Humphrey.
A report has found child grooming victims in Greater Manchester were let down by police as paedophiles escaped justice. The Prime Minister's formally rejected the Scottish Government's request to get the power to hold a second independence referendum transferred to Holyrood. And Business Secretary Andrea Leadsom says the government has agreed a deal with Flybe shareholders to keep the company operating. LBC weather, blustery showers and strong winds continuing in northwest Scotland, heavy rain in southeast England tonight. Lows of 1 degree in the north, but 10 in the southeast.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff. There are queues on the M25 anti-clockwise from junction 26 for Waltham Abbey to junction 24 for Butters Bar because of an accident. There are queues on the M2 eastbound. The exit Slip Road at junction 5 for Sittingbourne is closed because of an accident. There are long delays on the M3 southbound. That's because of an accident between the M25 and junction 3 for Bagshot. On the North Circular Road southbound, there are queues to the Hanger Lane Gyratory from Staples Corner because of 2 lorries that have broken down. There are delays on Holland Park Avenue in both directions. That's because of an accident near Holland Park Station. Hobbiton High Street stays partly blocked in both directions because of an accident at Isabella Road, so there are delays. And the Woolwich Ferry, that's not running because of the high tide.
Coming up at 7 on LBC, Ian Dale.
Boris Johnson has today rejected demands from Nicola Sturgeon for a second Scottish independence referendum. Is he right to do so?
Ian Dale on LBC.
At UKME, our chauffeur service is 6-star. Just like the package we offer our drivers. Join the company that treats its drivers like VIPs. Apply today at ukme.co.uk.
Parents, you know your child. You know the way they learn is different to others. And Inter High School knows this too. For 15 years, Interhigh has specialised in providing a fully interactive, tailored online school, supporting your child to achieve their best results from primary school age through to A-level. To discover more about Interhigh School, join their next online open evening on the 22nd of January. Register at interhigh.co.uk.
During the Flight Centre January sale, we've got loads of free upgrade offers, like upgrading your holiday flights to Virgin Economy Delight or Delta Comfort Plus. Upgrading your trip with 7 days free car hire for holidays to the US, Australia and South Africa. Or upgrading your stay, like half board to all-inclusive free of charge. So it's all tucking in, no forking out. Chat to us today and we'll tailor-make it easy to plan a holiday that's all travel, no worries. On select packages subject to availability at all protected terms apply.
The Vodafone Big Winter Sale is now on. Now you can get average speeds of 63 megabits per second of superfast fibre broadband for only £20 a month for selected pay monthly customers. Just one of the amazing offers in the Vodafone Big Winter Sale. Go online or in store today. The future is exciting. Ready? Vodafone.
Prices may change. 18-month term subject to credit acceptance and availability. Ends 30th of January. 61% of Superfast 2 customers receive sync speed above 63 megabits per second. Visit vodafone.co.uk/broadband.
Pets in a Pickle have your pets covered, with pet insurance policies as unique as they are. Visit petsinApickle.co.uk.
The high-quality kitchen you've dreamed of at a price well within your budget. That's Room Sense.
That's Room Sense.
The Room Sense January sale is now on, with 50% off our stunning kitchens and free appliances. Visit roomsense.co.uk today.
Quality at a price you can afford. That's Room Sense.
Minimum spend applies.
Play along with our 10-second teaser. Ready? Which sector generates more revenue than movies, cruise ships, recorded music, theme parks and spectator sports combined? The answer is gambling. If you got that right, you must be pretty smart. So you'll know who to choose for your business accounting, audit and tax affairs. Search Barnes Rofe. Clever accountants for business.
This is LBC, live from Strasbourg, the Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
Well, my last caller before the break, Jonathan, he was really upset. He thought it was wrong what we were doing. It'd be divisive. And I get here. Jonathan was 100% right. It's disgusting to use Big Ben to celebrate your victory. Really? What planet's this bloke on? It's also divisive. Have some respect for the 48% who didn't want to leave and still don't. David, oh, well, he's in Hackney, of course. That's what planet he's on. David, many of the 48%, unlike you, clearly, are Democrats. They accept the result. We've made a decision. We've backed it up more than once in elections. It is time for us to leave. I know there are some people who aren't reconciled to it. They are becoming an increasingly small minority. And David, this is a moment in history, whether you like it or not. Barry is a new caller from Sevenoaks in Kent. Good evening, Barry.
Good evening, Nigel. Nice to meet you. First and foremost, I'm a staunch leaver. I always have been since you first started. I'm a watching clockmaker, have been all my life. And for the life of me, I can't understand where they get the figure from for 500,000 for roughly 4 minutes striking.
Well, what they say, Barry, what they say is they'd need to put a floor back in, that construction work would stop, or the project would stop for a week or two, and because there are huge numbers of men and scaffolding hire and all the rest of it, that's what it would cost. It costs tens of thousands of pounds a day for the reconstruction of the Palace of Westminster, and if you stop it, you run up a big bill. That's the argument, Barry.
But the thing is, from what I've been up there, I've been up to the bell. Is what I can't understand. If naturally they take the floors out originally to get the bell up. Now there's no bell being taken down. All the other bells are there, and the staircase, from what I can remember, is on the perimeter of the inside of the turret, on the inside of the...
so that's still there?
That's still there, as far as it is it?
Well, I guess it must be. I mean, no one said it isn't, there, so I guess it must be.
There's no reason at all. There's no reason at all why you can't go up the staircase. I mean, there's no lift there. Go up the staircase right up into the top, where the main bell is. They could make a real bit of history if they can't get the chimes going. They could make a real bit of history by just letting it strike. Bang on 12 o'clock by lifting the hammer roughly 6 inches and dropping it and time the strikes.
Barry, I want to employ you, mate. I want to get you to do it and cut the government's bills. That's amazing. And Barry, tell me...
to my wife, I said I'd go up there and do it for 20 quid.
And tell me, how is business in the watch and clockmaking world?
Sorry?
How is business for you in the watch and clockmaking
world? We
are
snowed under with it. We're in Ruton Village.
Really? Yeah, I know Ruton very well.
Ruton Village, well, we're a neighbour of yours.
Yeah. So you're snowed under with work. So Brexit Britain's okay.
We've got roughly a 4-month wait for work to be turned over. There's 3 of us work.
Wow.
It's MJ Leach Watch and Clockmakers, Ruton Village.
I know exactly where you are. Barry, I tell you what, one Saturday morning when I'm driving around Sevenoaks, I'll pop in to Ruton and say hello to you. Barry, thank you for the call. Somebody else there who knows a bit about Big Ben says he'd do it for 20 quid. Not $500,000. Well, there you are. As I say, this is a very big, expensive project. Stopping it for any period of time will cost money. $500,000 does look a little bit rich. Craig is a new caller from Grimsby. Craig, good evening.
Good evening, Nigel.
Welcome. So, Craig, should Big Ben Bong? How strongly do you feel about this?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. I think it would be a historic moment for the country. All eyes on the world will be on England and London. Yep. Avid Remainer, but hey-ho, things have happened. People have voted. Didn't necessarily agree with most of the things that you say, but hey, it's happened. And I do agree with Big Ben Bong. It's not going to cost $500,000. I think that's drastically overworked. But it's think of all the money that it'll bring to the economy around that region on the day.
Yeah, and as you say, Craig, it is the global image, isn't it? What other image could there be of a moment in time when a big historic change is happening to the country? Big Ben's it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's such an iconic landmark. And it'll be all over the news throughout the world. I mean, it's a major event.
Yeah,
it's the biggest event economically that will probably happen to Britain in my lifetime, for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely with you. Thank you for the call. Now, Rob in Boston says, Big Ben shouldn't bong because Brexit is a total embarrassment. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. The world is laughing at us. Yeah, they are, but not doing Brexit, taking 3.5 years. Brexit shouldn't be marked at all. We're already a joke. Why make it worse? Rob, the joke is the people voting for something again and again and it not being delivered by a political class that didn't believe in it. That is what has been making us a bit of a laughingstock. Janet from Eastbourne, she's desperately upset. Not everyone wanted Brexit. Please give it a rest. Spend the money on the homeless. I'm pleased I don't live in London. I won't have to hear it. Oh, God. Some of you are so miserable, it seems to me. This is a moment in time, whichever way you voted. Nick is calling from King's Lynn and is a regular caller. Good evening, Nick.
Hello, Nigel. Well, as somebody who wishes to remain in the EU, I look forward to you getting up to whatever you want to do on Big Ben night or Bong night, just to prove how deluded you really all are. You really all are. What are you actually leaving?
God,
all that's happening.
You haven't cheered up much, have you?
European Community Act, and then going back in it again. If you're leaving something, why do you need a transition stage? And you yourself have done a U-turn. You said it wasn't Brexit anyway. The time to chime
I said Boris's deal wasn't Brexit. I said Boris's deal wasn't Brexit. Nick, I said Boris's deal wasn't Brexit. You are absolutely right. But what he's done in the withdrawal agreement, what he's done in the Tory manifesto, is to make it clear that we will not have regulatory alignment and that we will conclude this in 2020. So I am putting my trust in that absolute promise that Boris Johnson has made to the country.
Well, surely the time to chime Big Ben is a year from now when the period of transition is over, because what's happened, all that's happened, they've cheated this withdrawal bill through without scrutinising it. They've got a majority government because they didn't want to hold a second referendum. And now it's a simple. We've got out of the pond life soundbite stage now. Now it's a psychological stage of leaving. Now it's all down to you lot. You can't blame any more after the 31st. Oh, the Parliament has rejected it. It's going to be down to the actual Brexit facts and figures rejecting itself. And that's what I think will bring down Brexit, the failure of Brexit.
Nick, I think it'll be a great success. You and I disagree. The point is, you're quite right. There is work to be done. There is a transition period. I'm worried about all of that. But we are actually officially leaving the club. I'm packing up my bags and leaving the European Parliament. Nick, it's a moment in history, isn't it?
Of course it's not. Well, you regard it as a moment of history that we recognise a referendum result whose statistics even you doubted before the referendum. It had been 52 against 4.
Nick, I tell you what, the war is over, Nick. Get with it. Thank you very much indeed. Steve says on YouTube, Boris should make a speech on the night and church bells should ring out all over England to celebrate our freedom. Steve, you're thinking bigger than me. Back tomorrow at 6. At 10 tonight, it's Tom Swarbrick. But up next, with a strong opinion on Big Ben, is Ian Dale.
Bong. Thank you very much, Nigel. Now, a new report has uncovered yet another child sex abuse and grooming scandal in Manchester, in which 100 children were failed when the authorities turned a blind eye to the abuse that they knew was happening right under their noses and perpetrated predominantly by British Asian men. How can it be that the police turned a blind eye, social workers turned a blind eye, and so did the council? This happened 16 years ago, but how can we be confident that it isn't happening now and all over the country? Maybe you're somebody who's been let down by a child